Hi, I am Jim Adamski with CDL Wisconsin Roth Sugarbush. Today we're going to talk about the basics of evaporator startup when starting a new evaporator when cooking either raw sap or concentrate. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go through and we need to set our liquid levels of our pans on our evaporator. So on this particular evaporator, it's a CDL raised flue pan. We have the sight glass located on the side of the pan, which gives us the level in inches of liquid over the top of the flues in our pan. To adjust our liquid level for our pans, we come right into our float box here. We have a simple screw handle on our float, and we can basically move this float up or down to achieve the desired liquid level in our rear pan. So once we get our flue pan at our desired liquid level, what we're going to do is we're going to come up here to our front float box, which will be for our cross flow syrup pans on this particular evaporator. Same procedure, we have our sight glass up here in front, which will be our level of sap in inches over the top of or basically on the surface of our flat pans. To adjust that liquid level, once again, we're going to come into our float box. We have the screw handle basically on the floats, and we can adjust the floats up or down to achieve the desired liquid level in our syrup pans. So the next step of the process when operating an evaporator for the first time, whether you're cooking raw sap or concentrated sap from an RO, we need to get our flow going inside of the machine. And what I mean by that is basically we want to make sure that we have our sap basically coming into the back end of our flue pan, making its way around and coming up into our syrup pans so that we are taking our syrup off on the very front of our evaporator. If we don't start the flow, there is an opportunity to make syrup in multiple areas of the evaporator in different channels of the flue pan or flat pans and even back into the flue pan. The simplest way to get the flow going on an evaporator is basically to come up here to our draw-off valve. Once all of the pans have started to boil, come up here to our draw-off valve, take a small container like this for example, come up to our draw-off valve, open the valve, draw off enough liquid basically to fill a half a gallon container. And then what we want to do is we want to wait just a little bit. We want the pans basically to all seek their own level basically off the floats. So we're usually going to wait probably right around a minute and a half for this process to take place. The hot sap or syrup that we drew off that pan, we are going to pour right back into the pan at the same spot that we drew it off from. So what we want to do is we want to repeat this process about every 15 minutes until we start to see the dial thermometer, which is on the side of this particular pan, or if you're using an evaporator with a electronic draw-off, you'll have a digital temperature display. Once we start to see our needle on our thermometer start to climb up over zero, which is basically the boiling point of water for that day. Maple syrup will finish at 7 degrees over the boiling point of water, so the more that we draw off the front of this evaporator and pour back into the syrup channel, which is right on the front corner of this evaporator, basically we'll see as this continues to run, our dial thermometer will increase in temperature until we are 7 degrees over the boiling point of water in which we're going to make maple syrup. Once we reach that, we're going to open that valve very slowly, draw off a small amount of maple syrup until we start to see our dial thermometer drop back down again, and then we're going to close our valve and we're going to wait for our dial thermometer temperature to come back up until we're up at 7 degrees over the boiling point of water to draw off our next batch of maple syrup. So that's a quick way to get the flow started on a traditional evaporator. If you have any other questions, you can check us out on our website at www.rothsugarbush.com.